If you ever felt like your organization's software is literally fighting against you, well, you're definitely not alone. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dissect the massive multi-million-dollar failures of IT legacy modernization and reveal a radically more effective path forward for public sector and enterprise leaders. For decades, organizations have been trapped in this destructive cycle, constantly chasing the holy grail of a complete, ground-up replacement of their legacy systems. Today, we're going to look at the data, the structural flaws of that approach, and how a completely different strategy can save not just millions of dollars, but the very sanity of your workforce.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're covering the Big Bang fallacy, the human middleware crisis, geometric growth of risk, 5 paths to modernization, the surgical wrap approach, and finally, getting from chaos to capacity. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Big Bang fallacy, or really, a legacy of failure. To fix the future of IT modernization, we've got to be brutally honest about the devastating track record of the past. When you actually look at the forensic assessments of these massive Big Bang rip-and-replace attempts, a pretty spectacular pattern of failure emerges. We're talking about multi-year mega projects, where budgets just absolutely balloon, frequently hitting anywhere from $50 million to a staggering $500 million. I mean, that is a massive financial loss, especially for public sector agencies trying to protect taxpayer dollars.
You know, the promise is always this beautiful, seamless digital workflow, right? But the reality, it's usually the exact opposite. Instead of a digital utopia, these gambles result in the digitization of chaos. Organizations get trapped in this 3 to 5 year purgatory where things actively get worse. Essential services falter, improper payment rates can spike 10 to 15%, and the kicker? After burning through $500 million, many agencies just fail completely and end up stuck on the exact same 40-year-old COBOL mainframes they were desperately trying to escape, literally using systems older than the people managing them.
So why does this keep happening? Well, these catastrophic failures are fundamentally rooted in 3 super dangerous misconceptions about real-world operations. First up, the myth of clean data. Planners just assume decades of legacy data will be perfectly structured. Spoiler alert, it almost never is. Second, complete documentation. People actually believe that 40 years of manual workarounds and technical debt are neatly written down somewhere in a manual. And third, linear workflows. You can't treat incredibly messy, complex organizational habits like they're simple, straight-line processes. When these perfect world assumptions crash into the reality of COBOL-era technical debt, the whole project just shatters.
Which brings us to Section 2, the human middleware crisis, also known as the swivel-chair problem. Because the most tragic consequence of a failed Big Bang isn't on a spreadsheet. It's sitting right at the frontline caseworker's desk.
Instead of being empowered by new tech, these dedicated public servants get trapped in what we call a permanent swivel chair crisis. The shiny new front-end systems absolutely refuse to talk to the old back-end mainframes, so what happens? The human being becomes the bridge. They become human middleware, constantly toggling, copying, and pasting across 5 to 10 disconnected screens just to process a single constituent case. It turns a meaningful public service career into endless, mind-numbing data entry, which drives unprecedented burnout and turnover.
And this creates the ultimate innovation trap. Think about it. When agencies are forced to blow 60 to 70% of their entire IT budget just keeping the lights on and maintaining this fragmented administrative burden, there's absolutely zero room left for the actual innovations citizens need. You're essentially spending your whole budget just keeping those swivel chairs spinning.
But why do the new systems break the second they launch? Simple. Planners mistakenly assume that day-to-day operations actually follow those out-of-date employee handbooks. They completely ignore what's called the hidden factory. This is the vast, invisible network of manual bridge building, unwritten rules, and all those Excel shadow processes that actually keep the agency functioning every day. A lot of times, the true logic of a process only exists in the head of a retiring staff member. When you drop a rigid, monolithic replacement system on top of that hidden factory, it's pretty much guaranteed to break upon contact with the real world.
Moving on to Section 3, geometric growth of risk, or compounding complexity. Let's look at how this builds into a massive structural problem that makes these mega projects almost impossible to steer.
We typically think of risk as linear, right? Like double the code, double the risk. But with these projects, scale is a massive risk multiplier. In monolithic modernization, risk grows geometrically. That means a $500 million project isn't just 10 times riskier than a $50 million one, it's closer to 100 times riskier. You're literally stepping into a geometric interdependency explosion.
Let's break down exactly why that risk explodes.
As you start bolting on modules like finance, HR, and case management, the interdependencies go through the roof. The blast radius of a failure gets so massive that one single legacy data error can take down every integrated system simultaneously. Then you have the complexity tax, where just managing project communications takes more effort than actually writing the software. Toss in the classic bait and switch where vendors swap their A team for their B team, and suddenly you are hopelessly trapped in a multi-year vendor lock-in fueled by the sunk cost fallacy.
Which leads to this undeniable reality check. When we choose a monolithic approach, we are choosing a strategy where the probability of success decreases exactly as the cost of failure increases. It's a pretty sobering thought. You're quite literally betting the house on a strategy that's mathematically designed to collapse under its own weight.
Okay, Section 4, 5 Paths to Modernization, looking at Gartner's strategic framework. To find a way out of this wreckage, we need to look at frameworks that prioritize immediate business value over these massive, ribbon-cutting gambles.
Gartner breaks modernization down into 5 distinct paths. Path 1 is replace, scrapping everything for something new, which, as we've just seen, is a massive trap. Rebuild and refactor are incredibly invasive, core-level changes. Replatforming just shifts the same messy legacy logic to the cloud. But look at path number 5, encapsulate and wrap. That right there is the surgical, risk-mitigating approach we've been looking for.
That brings us to Section 5, the surgical wrap approach. For agencies suffocating under massive budget overruns, this encapsulation strategy offers a very real, vital third way.
Think of it this way. Total replacement? That's a blunt force heart transplant. It's incredibly invasive, the patient might reject it, and survival is definitely not guaranteed. Encapsulation, on the other hand, acts like a pacemaker. It lets you modernize specific, high-value workflows incrementally without destroying the patient. You respect the existing system's logic, treat the mainframe as a reliable engine, and just upgrade the dashboard and the steering wheel.
This surgical approach is exactly what the Zaluka Agent Eintectic Automation Platform, or ZAP, actually does. It completely bypasses the rip and replace madness by wrapping those 40-year-old COBOL mainframes in a deterministic, AI-driven intelligence layer. Instead of ripping out your foundation, the AI becomes the bridge, handling all those disparate systems so your human workers don't have to.
So how does it actually work in practice? Well, using standardized terminal emulation like OpenBots, the AI literally types into those old mainframe screens with the precision of a caseworker, but at digital speeds. And because safety is absolutely non-negotiable in public service, it uses strict boundaries called pedantic locks. Think of it as a bouncer that flat-out rejects any malformed AI reasoning before it ever touches your mainframe. Combine that with a forensic discovery engine to map out those hidden shadow processes, and you've basically built a perfectly safe, lightning-fast digital coworker that preserves your institutional memory.
All right, final section, Section 6, from chaos to capacity. Let's look at the immediate, real-world relief the surgical augmentation can provide to agencies on the brink.
The results really do speak for themselves. By automating those unwritten shadow processes and letting AI do the heavy lifting of cross-referencing legacy systems, pilot data shows a massive 40% reduction in case processing times. Plus, an 8% decrease in mainframe error rates. It literally resolves the human middleware crisis overnight. Caseworkers can finally get back to making high-level decisions and serving the public, rather than acting like human copy-paste machines.
And this highlights the grand contrast perfectly. Why would you spend 3 to 5 years risking geometric failure and total organizational collapse when you can achieve modular capacity relief in just 60 days? The difference in time to value and risk profile is just night and day. It's a complete paradigm shift from rip and replace to wrap and optimize.
The era of the monolithic gamble is officially over. Agencies can actually implement this surgical approach right now in 3 clear steps. First, launch a 60-day pilot targeting a high-friction workflow. Second, run a forensic discovery to finally map the gap between your documented policy and actual practice. And third, secure your legacy systems with an intelligence layer. You really don't have to rewrite millions of lines of COBOL overnight to see real, immediate relief.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Are you ready to stop paving cowpaths and finally deliver the digital-first experience your citizens and caseworkers actually deserve? The technology to wrap, optimize, and safely secure your legacy systems exists right now. Stop waiting for a big bang that is mathematically designed to fail and start your surgical modernization today. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.